Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the New Adjuster Podcast, Season 3, Episode 2. We have a fantastic episode lined out for you today. If you're new to this podcast, what we're here to do is help new aspiring adjusters get into the industry, break into it, and proceed throughout their career with confidence. Before we get into it, let's introduce ourselves. We are your hosts. My name is Murphy. I'm the Property Training Manager here at CNC, and with me, as always, is
Kelsey, Property Claims Manager at CNC.
And again, this is Episode 2 of our newest season, Introduction to Being a Field Adjuster.
If you're considering this career path or maybe just getting started, this episode is packed with insights from Julian Badillo, who's been in the field for over 9+ years, sharing real-world experience, tips, and what to expect.
Yeah, and before we get into it, if you missed our first episode, go back and give it a watch or a listen wherever you get your podcast. We had a really great guest, Court Fowler, CEO of Catastrophe and National Claims. And if you don't want to miss any future content, make sure you subscribe to our channel, CNC, Catastrophe and National Claims, and hit the bell icon to make sure you're notified of all future content. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. In today's episode, we're joined by Julian Badillo. Julian, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
So we did it last time. We'll probably do it every time. But in your own words, what is an insurance adjuster?
So an insurance adjuster is somebody either hired by the carrier or perhaps an independent adjusting company, and you'll go ahead and basically go out to a loss, scope the damages, and then write up a comprehensive narrative report. At least for the field, you also decide coverage at the desk.
Right.
And we have reviewers.
All kinds of stuff.
I mean, there's a bunch of different forks in the road, right, in an insurance claim and how you're going to handle it. But with this focus of this episode being on field adjusting, before we even get into that, talk to us. Was field adjusting your first kind of opportunity in the door? How did that work?
Yeah, no, so originally I actually started off in desk, and it wasn't even a full desk claim handling role. It was more so a ECTA, so external claims task assistant.
Gotcha.
Started off. You're basically a glorified assistant, but it's quite rewarding if you're doing it right. And then that gets you into the door to handle more complex claims and whatnot.
So with tasks, what do you mean by that? Did you order experts and that kind of thing for the adjuster?
So it basically it varies. You can do things like, for me, what I was doing originally was I was set up to handle contents for fire losses. So I would take any list that was handwritten and I would go ahead and transform it into something more legible on the computer.
Right.
So, but I'm assuming nowadays it's probably easier to feed it through some type of AI software so it can actually do the same thing, but at a faster.
Oh, yeah.
So you mean like a contents loss,
exactly,
right? Like the people's stuff that got damaged in the fire. Gotcha.
Exactly. And then I went from there to do an auto one, which is basically same thing. I'll take the call. I'll go ahead and handle it to the best of my ability. With the SCPs or SPCs, I can't remember what it was for. State Farm, but
standard operating, that's SOPs.
SOPs?
Something like that. I know what you're talking about.
All these acronyms for everything, everywhere.
Right. Exactly. So you would take that and you'd go ahead and make notes for the claim owner to make it a little bit easier on them nowadays. So that was basically the gist of what I did.
Gotcha. Okay, so started out in desk. Was desk the property side?
Yeah, so I did end up getting into an ECR role for State Farm through Everill's Claim Service, which shout out to them. But basically, from there, I did that for Hurricane Harvey as well as Ian. They were around Harvey and Irma.
Yeah, so right around 2017.
Yeah, correct.
That's when she started. Yeah, 2017. Oh, wow. There you go. Because you've been in it a little over 9 years now.
Yeah, man. So I can give you a little bit about my background if that helps.
Yeah. Go right ahead. That was going to actually be my next question.
Yeah. So basically, what I went ahead and did, I started getting my license in 2015, and it was right at the end. And so in 2016, I actually got my IA license, my Texas state license.
Gotcha.
Went the wrong route with it, but I got it from 2021.
Yeah.
And then eventually I figured out I needed my home state license, which I ended up getting from Adjuster Pro, funny enough.
Gotcha.
So in any case, I quit my job as soon as I got my license. Wish that was probably a better decision, but I did it with the knowledge that I had at the time. I thought there were only 5 IA firms, including you guys, and I just went out there. I worked for a roofing company in Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
I was promised a place to stay, and I was promised a job where I could actually use my insurance adjusting license. I was a door knocker, and I ended up sleeping on a couch for 3 months in an office in Denver, which it was converted into it was a house, so it was converted into an office.
Sure, but it's still a couch.
It's still a couch. Felt just as comfy as one.
Gotcha. So how long have you, so now the field adjusting part, that's been since when?
Field adjusting has been since 2020.
Okay.
I saw a need. I was stuck at home like a lot of people probably were at the time too, and I just wanted to do something different. And I still did. I ended up in a supervising adjuster role where I was looking over claims and just deciding whether or not they were good to go and we could make a payment. And I remember I was sitting on a beach in California because I was traveling too at the time. And I just got a call and my buddy was like, hey, would you be interested in going out to Chicago and learning how to field adjust? And I was like, I mean, I'm looking around, not really.
On a beach.
Yeah. So, and I just thought about it. I was like, I got to do something different. Like, comfort doesn't really drive success. And so I was like, I just got to do something different. So luckily enough, my role was actually ending. So it was a smooth transition to end up doing field adjusting out there. And it was quite the experience in the field, especially in Chicago.
Sure.
During COVID, because I'm wearing a mask.
Yep.
But people are like, hey, man, you got beef with my neighbor? I'm like, I'm just here to take pictures.
Right.
So, but it was quite an interesting conundrum.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because, like I said, my first field deployment was in Chicago too. So
No
I
kidding.
guess that's like the first place everybody goes. I'm just kidding. But
I was going to say Atlanta.
we're 2 for 2
That's
right now.
exactly
So
right. Yeah.
So, all right. So, obviously, you've been in field adjusting since 2020. Would you, and you don't have to slight one or the other, but do you enjoy the field more than the desk?
Yeah, I love the field.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. You get to meet so many more people, so many more different experiences.
Yeah.
And I feel like you actually pick up on some of the cultural differences in between communities.
Sure.
So it's super cool. I
Yeah.
mean, I like being able to try new food, meet new people, and see and stand in those houses too. I
Sure.
feel like I can make a real difference.
Yeah. Because there's
Yeah.
only so much you can do from a desk. I know Kelsey can speak to that too. So,
Yeah.
You know.
I would kill to look at some of these homes and be like, God, why didn't you take a picture 2 foot to the right?
Right.
Something like
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's what I found in desk adjusting too. I was like, you know what? I've always seen these photos, from the other side, but now I'm actually standing in them. And I kind of know what to look for and have a different vision.
Yeah.
As to
And you
what-
kind of know what they expect too.
Yeah.
It's good to work both sides.
Absolutely.
Field adjusters know what desk is looking for, and desk, you're like, man, I know as a field adjuster, this is kind of what I need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
it's really different for you to do desk than field because a lot of people do the opposite. So
I wish I had known.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of newer adjusters probably start off in the desk thinking that it'll probably be easier, and to a degree it is because somebody can potentially hold your hand.
I don't know that I agree with that because I
Really?
feel like the experience you get from the field will help you 5,000% when you sit at a desk because going in and people are just, let me get a license and go be a desk adjuster. And no, if you don't know what the damage looks like, what water damage looks like to drywall, then
Can be
I don't
challenging.
know. It's challenging,
And I'll tell you
definitely.
right now, I didn't, and I really wish that I think I could always go back and do desk, and it would be completely different to me than when I first started.
For sure. I bet. So looking back, what was the biggest challenge that you faced in your first year of adjusting and how'd you overcome it?
I guess with being young, that was probably the hardest part. I think I had braces when I was working at the desk.
Yeah.
So it was tough to be taken serious. I think as a young adjuster, you run into that challenge a lot. And
Yeah,
I think,
what age was that?
oh man, I started off, I was 21 at the desk.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Gotcha.
I was in my early 20s too. I think 22, 23.
It's such a good time to get in. I had so many people who said, I envy you because they're in the 30s and 40s. They're like, man, this is like a gold mine for me. It's the closest you can get to having a real career without having the degree to back it up.
Sure.
I say that all the time to my friends and family. Like, this is one way that you can get your foot into the door of a place where you can build your career and go to the moon and back. I mean, your options are endless with this type of work, and just getting your foot in the door is awesome, especially doing it when you're young, because you start off and you're like, oh yeah, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, and do 100 tasks a day, and the people love you, and they're like, all right, we're going to bring you back to do 10 more deployments. So
And it's like what Murphy said, there's so many forks, so you really do have an option to do something different if you chose to do. You say, hey, you know what, this doesn't suit me, I maybe want to do something else.
Yeah.
But I think my second, or really I think the first biggest challenge was probably finding somebody who would take me seriously to take me on. So there are a lot of IA firms out there. There's a lot of knowledge to grasp, but there's not many options when you're newer, I think, especially just breaking in, no experience whatsoever. So when you're breaking in, you're just trying to find anyone who will, throw me the vine and I'll swing.
Sure,
It's one of those moments.
Well, and I know, and I'm kind of hearkening back to the last episode when we had Cord on. He's mentioned this not on the episode, but around the office too. He's like, it's cyclical, right? Adjusting is cyclical. It's generational, really. I mean, there's older adjusters that are phasing out now. They're getting out of the business, and you got to be able to replenish those, those people and those resources with younger, newer, hungry adjusters, greener adjusters that. I say it all the time. Everybody had a first day. Everybody's got to start somewhere, So there is a need for new adjusters, and it's just getting the opportunity, really. Because once you get the opportunity, you can take it wherever you want.
Yeah.
If you do it for a couple years, or you do it for, over 9 years like you've done.
Yeah. You just have to say yes.
Got to find a spot too. Like my thing is call around and not only say, hey, do you have a deployment for this carrier, or just read through Facebook posts and stuff, because you will see all the different carriers that you could possibly work for. And maybe this really huge, gigantic one may not be the best. Maybe you need a little bit more experience to do that. But maybe on this one I can get in. So just read and do some research and find out which ones are the easier, carriers per se to work for.
Yeah.
And there's so much knowledge out there that
nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, you can find out what TPA firms work for certain carriers by just a quick Google search.
Tell everybody what TPA is too.
TPA is third party administrator. They are they handle the claims for the carriers. So they're the third party who the claims get assigned to, representing the insurance carrier.
Gotcha. Yeah. And again, our audience is new adjusters, right? So that's who we're catering to. And for the new adjusters that are thinking about that career in the field like you've done, and I started doing way back when, what are some things in the field, like day one stuff, that you kind of need to be prepared for? We could talk about this for an hour if we had to,
so
and we might. So everybody just buckle up. But
be
go
prepared.
ahead. Yeah.
So to answer your question, I guess what was something that they really should know before they get in? Goodness, that's a good question.
Hey, you got to travel.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
People think field adjusting, well, I'll just adjust here in Mobile, Alabama, where we are. It doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
There's some travel. Again, my first deployment, Chicago. Your first deployment, Chicago.
Yeah. And I was thousands of miles away from Chicago, so
Right.
I've never even been in that time zone, I think.
Oh, I know.
So,
Yeah.
I think knowing that you need to travel, knowing that it's going to be difficult, but that you can overcome it is super important.
Yeah.
And, just trying to stay curious, stay hungry, and keep learning is absolutely imperative.
Yeah. Talk to us about like the equipment you need as a field adjuster.
Oh,
Everybody thinks like, I need a ladder, right, to get up on the roof. Well, sure. But like, what are some other stuff you got to have?
So you're going to need things like a camera. I'm less old-fashioned. I typically use Xactimate Mobile, which is an excellent tool if you all haven't already been using it.
Yep.
Love it.
But basically, I would use Xactimate Mobile. I use it on an iPhone. It's much easier, much less cumbersome than an iPad. I think a lot of people think, I got to bring up this, no offense, those things look super bulky.
Yeah,
and I've
heavy.
I've had an
Put that
11-inch.
iPhone in your pocket. I can't put this in any pocket.
Yeah, and I've had an 11-inch hit me in the face during Hurricane Ian. So
Do they still sell the mini iPads?
They do, yeah.
Yeah,
They still
I
have
think they do.
iPad minis and whatnot. So that's really halfway. If you're trying to find something that's like less cumbersome, but more so, pocket sized, I think the mini would probably suit best. But you definitely need things like a pitch gauge, shingle gauge, as long as it's allowed by the IA firm, and a metal gauge as well. I like to have my tool drawer because I have all my tools laid out. Headlamp, super important, as well as a proper respirator and making sure it's properly fitting.
Yeah.
So, and that would include something for mold and whatnot, because
Right,
you're going to be exposed
or a
to the
fire
elements.
loss. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Tyvek suits, super imperative.
Yeah.
As well.
Right. Yeah.
So,
But and if you've got like, your hail claim, wind claim, obviously you talked about shingle gauge, pitch gauge, and you talked about camera too, but can you use your device that you use in Xactimate, can you use that for photos also? Or would you recommend having an actual camera itself?
So I wouldn't be opposed to having something like a backup device. So it could be a camera phone, it could be more so a camera.
Sure.
But for me, I find best that I use the best iPhone out there, which currently at the time is the iPhone Pro Max 16, I believe.
Yeah.
So I'll use that for a lot for Xactimate Mobile because I get the sketch on site, photos too, organized before I leave, and then not to mention being able to write the estimate. I do it all on my iPhone nowadays.
Right, yeah.
So I'm writing it on the iPhone as well as laboling on the iPhone.
Right.
So super quick.
So when you use Xactimate Mobile, does it save the photos to your phone or just through the app?
So you can actually have it saved to both. You can have it saved to the device or just to Xactimate Mobile. I live a little dangerously nowadays, and I'm not taking that many photos. But I have had some people where they didn't archive their photos.
Sure.
And it was actually the last storm where they lost over 200 photos.
Oh,
so
man.
if you, I would suggest probably archiving.
Right, because I've had adjusters who are like, God, I don't want these people's, stuff all over my personal phone. But I mean, it is what it is because you're always going to take more photos than you need as well. So that's something that I always want to tell newer field adjusters is take the photos, take more than you think you'll need in every area of the house, because I promise you 5 times out of 7, the carrier's going to call back, hey, do they have a photo of this? And even though it might not be in your initial report, if you got it in your back pocket, add it in there.
Absolutely.
Now, what's your stance on measuring, right? Do you Do you do it all through the app, or you do like tape measure, laser measure? How's that work for you?
So great question. There's a couple of different ways. I started off like everyone else using a tape measure, and I actually upgraded to a laser measure as well. And then finally, the technology has improved vastly since I used it 8 years ago. So you'll see it actually being able, especially with as long as it's over iPhone XS, you're able to measure within the app. It might be an inch or two off, which is incredible because of LiDAR technology. So, but it depends on the circumstance. I'll use a tape measure just if I see fit. If I can't, I don't want to sit there and try to shoot a laser across. It might be, this big and I need to stop it somewhere. So there are times where I use a tape measure, laser measure if it's a huge room, or I might use LiDAR just depending on the size of it, and then double check my measurements after I'm done.
So you're not really married to one or the other. You kind of use a mixture, whatever works best at the time.
Never marry an idea. I'll marry a person. I'll marry
There you go.
I feel like you have to use multiple because if there's a bunch of crap in the house, a bunch of stuff, you can't use the LiDAR, right?
Yeah, so actually, you know what? I will say that it's improved beyond that now. Because it used to be where, if you were in a hoarder's house, good luck trying to find a wall. But now, instead of having to shoot corner to corner, you're actually able to shoot it against the wall.
To wall.
Yeah, and it's incredible. I'll give you all a tour.
That is awesome. I didn't, the last time I looked at it, I didn't think that you could do that.
Been some updates.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like we've talked about it numerous times, how technology has really evolved so much, even over the last probably 5 years, but obviously the last 10 or 15. Just since you started, obviously you got LiDAR technology. Xactimate Mobile is really becoming more and more prevalent now. What are some other advances in the technology space that you feel like help field adjusters?
Yeah, so, that help field adjusters. So I've seen the advancement of technology when I was a desk adjuster. It used to be where you would have to call the insured just to get an idea as to what was going on. You couldn't text them. Now you're seeing, at least with the desk, not only can they text them, but they have the capability to actually video call the insured in their home. With field, besides Xactimate Mobile, you have things like RouteX. Oh my God, I could sit here all day and talk about RouteX. Basically, RouteX is a tool now in the field where you're going ahead and you can schedule your appointments in there, as well as it having weather updates. You can text the insured, automated text messages, which I used on my last storm. Thought it was an incoming fad. Quickly realized that I was missing the boat on it. So super helpful. I was actually able to get most of my tree invoices, about, I want to say 80 to 90% of them, because I asked the insured through the text message, hey, send it to me.
Shoot it over,
Yeah, and a lot of the times you weren't able to even get in touch with the insured because, cell phone lines are down and whatnot. So being able to send a text, not only was it preferred by most of the insureds, but they really appreciated it because they could respond back at their own time.
Wishful thinking here, but I've never heard of this. So my next question is kind of from a do not know standpoint. Do anything in that app, does it hook with Exact Analysis?
Yeah, so they've actually been integrating it. Yeah, Matt Steff is the owner. He's the former president of NACA, but he's synced it up to where basically you're pulling everything.
Your dates, all the milestone dates.
Everything,
oh my God,
You track mileage too.
Awesome.
I saw him at NACA for the first time, and again, I thought it was a fad. I didn't really pay it much attention, but now every time I see that man, I go, "Hey, Matt. Thanks for making RouteX."
RouteX. I'm going to have to look into it. That's awesome.
It's super cool.
Especially with the dates and stuff, because that's something that we deal with a lot is I feel like we're begging adjusters, hey, don't forget to put your scheduled inspection date in there, something that's going on.
I don't know if it updates a scheduled inspection because I still do it the old-fashioned way, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets it in an update.
Yeah, because the thing is with all of those milestone dates, if you don't know as a new field adjuster, is that if you don't update them in real time, you have to update them the day that you think about it, but you can't backdate it. So it's all kind of real time. You've got to do it then. So if there is anything that can help with that, especially if you're using it to schedule your inspections, that's awesome. I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, let's take a quick break before we jump into part 2. Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's Mythbuster segment of the week. This segment is brought to you by Blue Leopard Agency. Marketing shouldn't feel like a guessing game. If you're overwhelmed and looking for a way out of the chaos, Blue Leopard Agency has your back. Escape the marketing jungle, reach your ideal customers, and fuel your business growth with a custom strategy. Get started today at blueleopardagency.com. Kelsey, hit him with it.
All right. What's the biggest misconception about field adjusting?
So the biggest misconception I typically see that's always sold as some quick rich scheme. I mean, basically you're thinking that you're just going to come out the gate and make millions of dollars, whatever it may be.
Sure.
We might make a fraction of that if we're lucky, unless you're super skilled. But coming out of the gate, you're probably not going to hit a home run. You might make a lot. Well, I'll be honest. You'll probably make a lot of mistakes at the beginning.
Sure.
But failure is the cornerstone of success. And you can build on that foundation.
Yeah. Well, and I think like anything else, if you stay with it and you keep training, keep building your knowledge base, always say yes to the deployment.
Yeah.
You know, don't ever, Kelsey, what do you always say? Don't do what? Don't self-release, right?
Don't self-release. Don't leave a deployment early.
Yeah.
Yes. The best deployment is the one you're on.
Exactly. Stay in it. And yeah, you could get there eventually. But I agree with you right out of the gate. It's just not going to happen.
Because adjusting firms, this is one thing I've learned is they're huge on loyalty.
Yep.
And that is, you know, all of us are that. And if you stick around and they know, okay, this person stuck around when I needed them and I know they had other opportunities.
Yeah.
If they stay, I'm going to call them for the next 10 deployments I have and have them get money in their pockets.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say that because I remember my first field deployment, I ended up staying because there were so many other storms. And I was like, you know what, I'm here, I'm learning.
Yeah.
And ended up getting offered a higher percentage and then an even higher percentage because another hurricane hit. So
Yeah.
super, super thankful to stick around.
And the firms are the same way. Same thankful to have people like that. So I'm sure that they loved you for it.
They brought me back.
That's right. Good segment. Good segment.
All right. So talk to us about the day-to-day. What does your typical day look like as a field adjuster?
So it depends on what you mean, whether or not you're talking about daily and or CAT claims. It can look a little different.
Yeah. Well, let's do both then. Let's start with daily and then we'll go into CAT after that.
Okay, cool. So basically with daily claims, it really starts with the preparation to begin with, regardless of whether or not it's daily or in your CAT. Yeah. I like to lay out my clothes the day before. I like to make sure all my tools are in the Bronco before I get out. And mainly I focus on preparation, but after, when everything's settled and I've got everything ready to go for the morning, what I'll go ahead and do first is, as long as the time permits and it's early in the day, I'll call the insured and I'll go over the scope of loss of what I've seen. Typically, you'll get some type of loss report or initial loss report from hopefully from the firm.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And you'll have an idea as to what you're walking into. That way you can set up. Maybe there's a specialized tool that you'll need. But basically, I'm just making sure that I have everything I need before I get out there.
Right.
And I'll speak with the insured to confirm that I have it. So from there, I'll go ahead and get the details from it. I'll make sure to download my project from the cloud, from Xactimate, or from the cloud up in Xactimate.
Yeah.
So from there, I will go ahead, the project be downloaded. I will make sure that all the information's in there as well before I head out. And I'll go ahead and I'll typically Google the loss address before I get out there too. Yeah. I definitely want to know, am I going to need my goat for this? Am I going to need my pitch hopper?
Right,
pitch hopper? So
right.
It's really imperative to do a lot of preparation before.
So you can look at like a street view from Google Maps.
Exactly. Yeah, that way I'm not getting out there and I'm like, oh shoot, this is a 2-story. I didn't even set something up.
Right, you didn't even think about it, right?
Okay.
You got a 10-foot ladder.
Or it's super steep and I'm not 2-story certified, so I need somebody out there.
Maybe you need ladder assist.
Did I order
something
ladder
like that.
assist?
Yes. My goat can do pretty much anything except for anything over a 12.
Right.
So.
Right.
Okay.
And you don't mean a goat like the animal.
Oh, yeah. I've got to extrapolate on that, too. So I'm definitely not bringing out some goat. I am bringing out a special device. It's like a hook, basically. So you're hooking it onto the roof and you're able to climb up it.
Yeah, gotcha. So it's a little bit of assist there for a person. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, so now CAT. What's the difference in a CAT?
So with the CAT, basically what I'm doing, it's same with preparation. I will make sure that I have enough gas in my car, though, because sometimes you can get out to a loss and there may not be any gas stations in the area.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So with that said, I'll make sure that I've got everything to go the day before. Clothes are laid out. I've got plenty of things that I need before I get out there. Yep. And with that said, I'll go ahead, call the insured if I can. If I can't, I'll just try to shoot a text message to them and just try to get an idea as to what I'm walking into. With Xactimate Mobile, it's super cool that you can actually go to the notes section. As long as it's been sent from Exact Analysis down, you can actually see the initial loss right in there, and it'll tell you, date and time that's submitted, phone numbers, as well as information out there. So if you're juggling 50 claims, 100 claims, whatever it may be, you can always refer back to Xactimate Mobile and see in the notes section exactly what you set up for that day.
Yeah.
So I'll get out there, I'll scope the loss, try to practice safety. My girlfriend said to make sure that I'm practicing safety
Oh,
at
yeah.
the time, and to bring that up here as well. So I'll try to be as safe as I possibly can. That includes setting up my ladder correctly, avoiding wet decks, concrete, try to set it up in the grass, and try to tie off on things as well.
Yeah.
If it's a roof claim, I'll scope the roof, interior water loss, scope the interior. But besides that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go back to my car same way I would in my daily claims, and I'm going to use Xactimate Mobile to try and label all my photos while I'm out there, because if I'm forgetting something, which sometimes you may, there's so much going on, I'll hop out the Bronco, I'll go ahead and go back in, take that photo, and then I'll go ahead and write my estimate based on my photos as well.
Yeah.
So that way I can be as accurate and as detailed as I possibly can while ensuring efficiency and being able to get to the next one.
Okay, so we've got a goat, a cat, a bronco,
a dog,
a
cow.
Bronco's the
what
car.
we got next?
No, so all right, and as a field adjuster too, when I'm thinking like day to day, I'm thinking like, do you just call and schedule inspections, or you just try to call, inspect, and write that night? How does that work?
I want to add on to that before you answer it.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you have any good way of ordering out your claims? Okay, these 5 are in the same neighborhood.
Yeah. So with that said, I typically will use RouteX to kind of schedule.
Okay.
Exact Analysis does have a setup for the map.
Yes.
So I'll try to work outward in because as a cat goes on, I find myself feeling burnt out or feeling stressed or whatever it may be. And I'm like, I've got to keep going. But when I make it easier and I group those claims in, it seems to become an easier way to tackle the day, knowing that, hey, you know what? At least this one's better than the hour one I had in the beginning.
Right, yeah.
So from there, I'll group my claims. Now, RouteX does do a good job where it'll list out not only the weather, but the distance between those claims. So instead of having to do the mental math myself, RouteX can take the load off and I can kind of follow that.
Right, yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, obviously you want to try to group them together. You can hit, 5 in a day as opposed to, 1 or 2 a day.
Yes.
Now, and again, whenever you go to write those, are you inspecting, say you do 4 a day, do you write the 4 that night?
So that's part of
complete them that night?
Yeah. So with Exact Mobile, I try to practice what I preach to the nth degree. I don't want to go out there and I don't want to overscope because overscoping is the enemy of the insureds as well as the insurance company and the independent adjusting firm. So with that said, I will typically write it in the field if I do scope it. And what I do is I use Exact Mobile. So my photos are organized. I can label my photos. I've got a cool way to show you guys later on how to label photos at a quicker rate. So I'll label my photos while I'm out there. And then while I'm labeling the photos, I've been begging Verisk. I do have monthly meetings with them every now and then to set up Xactimate or Mobile, at least in a different fashion. I'll take answers from, there's a group called Xactimate Mobile Tips and Tricks. And so I'll ask other users, hey, do you think that anything needs to be changed or would you like to see a new feature? Because while Verisk may be already working on something, sometimes it's better to be on the ground floor and ask the people around you.
Yeah.
So with that said, I will estimate in the field because I find it easier. Like I said, if I'm missing a photo, I can hop back out the car. If I'm unsure of how something looked, I can get out and try to write it there as well.
Sure.
But I like to write in the comfort of my AC. So.
Or even remembering, like, oh my gosh, was this that house or was it, where is it was the one with the pink door,
Exactly.
which was which?
And when you've got 100 claims, sometimes all the details get a little muddy together because the fog of time.
Especially in a cat, because you got, I've got 5 missing roofs over here. This house had 4 missing shingles, so there's no telling.
Yeah, you do a better job, in my opinion, doing it out in the field. You remember a lot more. What I've been begging Verisk to do really is to put the general loss report, which if y'all are familiar, general loss report is
like your narrative.
that. Exactly. So you're putting in any details regarding the claim. Yeah. So what I've been asking them to do, and I'm sure a lot of other users as well, is to have a general loss report that the IA firm has already gone ahead and approved of, instead of a free flow inspection form, because that's what, in my opinion, I think that's what adjusters need.
Right.
And so I'd like to see that because while I may be doing a better job writing them at home in the dark, whatever it may be, it would be easier to write them out there.
Yeah. So. Well, and the way, I typically try to phrase the narrative is it's your written version of the inspection, right? It's your photos and your estimate in Word form. So, any way you can streamline that process. I mean, when we talk about streamlining process being more efficient, is that really what you think separates the great field adjusters from the ones that are maybe a little bit behind or they haven't caught up yet? Yeah. So Tim Grover if y'all aren't familiar with Tim Grover, he was I believe he was the weight training coach or the coach for Michael Jordan.
Yeah. So he had an idea that there were coolers, closers, and cleaners. And Michael Jordan was, maybe at the time he was more so of a closer, but he became a cleaner. Yeah. And so in that sense, you have the good adjusters and you have the great adjusters and then you have the exceptional, in my opinion. Yeah. So I think what really differentiates them all is my brother passed away last year and we had a lot of people come to the house asking us what we needed. And my family was just so wrapped up in the grief, we didn't really consider what we needed. We were just mourning over the loss of my brother. And so what I did with my time, keep bringing people up. Dr. Jordan Peterson had in his book, be the man that people look to when your father passes away. In this case, it was my brother, Ryan Estrada. And so what I did was I didn't wait for somebody to tell me to be useful. I just simply became useful.
Yeah.
So anything my family needed before they may have even thought about it, I just went and did it.
Yeah.
So that included getting a phone fixed or getting, making sure the car was clean, gas, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think great adjusters and exceptional adjusters find that they just make their own luck happen by being exceptional and finding a way to be great. They don't just settle for the mediocrity and the averageness of what everyone else may be doing.
Yeah.
You just hit the nail on the head. Like, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tim Grover nugget too.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Tim Grover's the GOAT.
I got you.
I love that.
And the biggest thing is, too, we've mentioned it time and time and time again, and we will continue to do it, is the customer service aspect. You can be the greatest knowledge base in the world when it comes to construction and how to use the estimating products and things like that. But the personal experience and the journey that you go on with that customer, that policyholder, it's above all else the most important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, James Mathis, I'm going to call him Jim because he calls me Julio. So Jim Mathis, what he'll typically say is that, he can take back an estimate, he can warp it to whatever it needs to be or to make it better based on if it's bad or not, but he can't take back a bad customer experience.
Bingo.
So it's super imperative to dial in on that customer service aspect that all of us should be capable of doing, especially if you've got friends or a wife, to be kind and courteous and to be empathetic to every single policyholder.
Yeah.
Because they're people.
Yeah. You can teach somebody to be a good adjuster. You can't teach somebody to have the customer service. That's got to kind of come natural to
we
you.
call those sociopaths. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, you could teach a person to be a good adjuster. You can't teach them to be a good person. Yeah. And that really goes hand in hand. And I feel like we talk about empathy on every single episode of this podcast. But it is quite literally one of the number one things that you must have in this industry is to care for people, about what you're doing, make sure you're doing a good job, but also looking out and seeing, okay, this isn't about me. This is my job. I'm here to make money, but there is nothing about this experience that is about me. It's about these people and getting them right.
Yeah, you're here to serve.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So what for someone just starting out, what certifications, tools, training would you recommend that they focus on first?
So I think if it's geared more towards the field, I personally, for me, I think everyone's journey looks different, as well as certifications, what they may think they need versus what they actually need. With that said, I found the most useful one, in my opinion, to be, people may poo-poo on it over Facebook or whatever it is, well, they always do, is the Hague certification was super helpful.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the Hague Certified Reviewer as well as the Hague Commercial and Hague Residential courses. I think they're super impactful, although they may be a little boring at some points. They can at least provide you a lot of value and a foundation to build off of if you have no experience in the field.
Yeah.
If you don't know anything about construction, we did Hague certifications here. We've taken the classes. We've worked with Hague a lot. And it really, really is great information, but you have to just stick through it because you're right. It's one of those, might make you start the snoring, but it is great information, like you said.
Oh, absolutely. They're engineers, they're not people.
They're
persons.
Right. It's amazing. It's amazing work product for sure. And, but just the different kind of trainings you can get with Hague.
Yeah. And sometimes, so if the video is available, I used to, I would watch the Hague course before I went out. Like there was a super helpful one where it was.
So smart.
I try not to be, but so there was one with a shingle that was impacted by a piece of hail. And so what I did was I couldn't really get it in the photo that it was showing. So I had a water bottle with me and I just poured a little bit of water on the roof and you could see the indentation of where the water sat. And I'm like, that's what I needed. Money shot. Boom.
Yeah. There you go.
So I took that photo. And with that said, Hague, while that's important as well, IICRC certifications, which don't ask me what the acronyms because I will fudge it up. But IICRC.
I have one. Couldn't tell you what it stands for.
Oh,
I have no clue.
Yeah.
So it's the International Institute of Cleaning, Remodeling, something. So, but basically what they do is that they've got people who specialize in cleaning or restoration. Mm-hmm. And so with that said, I ended up getting my WRT, which is a water remediation technician. And they have, I wish I paired it with the ASD, which I can't even remember what that one stands for. But in any case, once I took the WRT course, I quickly realized that I was writing my estimates inefficiently. And I said, hey, you know what? The IICRC standard for this is different. And I was like, I've got to write differently. So that upped my game to the way I would look at a claim became completely different.
Sure.
So it was super imperative to get that one. But I will say that, while all this information is great, actually applying it is something different.
Right.
So you'll need to do something like that to where you look at a problem and you may say, you know what, I need to remember or I need to take from my manual what it was and then apply it.
Yeah.
It's action that really makes it stick.
IICRC, that one is so important too, because especially working daily, water claims for these different carriers, you will see it and you will have adjusters that are like, I don't know how to reconcile this water mitigation estimate. Yeah. And you literally, there are set standards and rules that you can go by and say, we'll pay for this, we won't pay for that. That's not necessary. This was not Cat 3 water, whatever the case is. But that is so beneficial to have. And I'm glad that you brought that up.
And then when you can talk shop to some of these guys too who are setting up,
you're like, wow.
They're surprised because you're like, hey man, why do you need 50 cylindrical fans in a bathroom? It's like trying to dry it quicker. I swear that was what I was told.
All right, so Julian, let's kind of land this plane here. If you've got a top 3 things that you would give to a brand new field adjuster on their first deployment, it's their first opportunity, if you could list out 3 things that, hey, you got to be aware of these, you got to know these, you got to be prepared for these, what would they be?
So I think it goes back to my stepbrother, my brother, Ryan Estrada. He was a professional poker player, amassed like $300,000 in his first year, in his last 3 years of playing poker professionally. And I see a lot of what he did lining up with my profession and the reason where I am here today is basically prioritizing improving was one of the things he had written down in his whiteboard. I find myself kind of in the same boat of I'm always prioritizing improving. I'm always trying to find what's in the next cutting edge piece of technology. Mm-hmm. What can I find around the corner? And so for a lot of new adjusters, I would say maybe look for something that sets you apart from everyone else, something that you can improve upon. Because if you're not first, you have to be the best sometimes. Yeah. So with that said, I would prioritize improving, getting better at a certain skill or multiple skills. And secondly, I would also ask myself, because that's what my stepbrother did as well. Ryan would ask, he'd have a reminder on his phone every day at 2 p.m. It would go off and it would say, are you doing everything in your power to be the best? And sometimes you have to really look in the mirror and say, hey, am I really trying here? Am I just settling for mediocrity? Yeah. And, I know that failure is the cornerstone of success, but are you always going to fail? Can you be better? Can you find a way to be better? And are you asking the right questions, especially to yourself? So being brutally honest as well. And third, I would remind yourself that you're a pro. You were a pro when you got your license, and you were a pro when you started. And while that may not necessarily be true, maybe there has to be a little bit of a lie that you have to tell yourself. Because when everyone's losing their head and looking at you, looking to you for the answers, you have to take that conscious breath in and take it out and then realize the situation that you've put yourself in. And if you're not a pro, people are going to quickly figure that out. And that's why you need to try to be the best that you can be every day and reminding yourself that you are a pro. Yeah. And more importantly, that you're an adjuster pro.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I love that because if you're not, there's going to be somebody that's better than you. You need to strive to be better than what's best.
Absolutely. And there's a famous picture of Michael Phelps. I keep going back to the goats. But I can't remember if he's in first or second, but there's a guy either ahead or behind him. And the guy's looking at Michael Phelps, right? But Michael Phelps, gold medalist winner, multiple gold medals, he's not looking at anybody else. Michael Phelps is in the water, head down, and he just keeps swimming. And sometimes you need to do the same. Yeah. Stay in your lane, get better, improve upon your skills, and just be the best that you can be every day.
Yeah, just like Dory, just keep swimming. Right?
Just keep swimming, baby.
That's right. That's right.
Love it. So, okay, what is one thing that you wish that you knew when you started out as a field adjuster?
It gets easier.
No, seriously, it does.
Yeah, it really does. Especially when you start to run into the same scenarios over and over again. I really wish I knew that there was a community out there. There's a lot of people on Facebook. While they might not all be, looking out for your best interest, at least you are. And with that said, take a moment to look into the community for answers. Maybe ask a question. Maybe use that dang search bar, like I always suggest, and try to see if whether or not somebody's already asked that question either a year or 2 years ago, whatever it may be. Yeah. Because sometimes that information is still current. Yeah. So I would honestly look for a community. I think what got me to this point was I always looked out for my community in a sense where if there was a question I could answer, I would try. Mm-hmm. If I didn't, I'd be honest, and that might mean not answering the question in the first place. But I can at least have a community behind me because that might be my reason to keep going. It's like, you know what? If I go here, I'm going to ask a question on behalf of the community. Right. And then same thing applies with Exacta Mobile Tips and Tricks, where I just kept asking what they wanted, and I gave back with an update from Verisk because it wasn't just me behind myself. It was a community behind me. Yeah. So if you can't lead other people, lead yourself.
Yeah. Well, and I know you're big into that space, too, with the Facebook groups. I know you're big with NACA. You're with a new company now, which I'll let you kind of unveil if folks don't know it already. Yes. You got any things you kind of want to plug before we let you go today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the current instructor for Exacta Mobile. and that's with Adjuster Pro. And I'm also the admin of Claims Adjusters Network, as well as Exactament Mobile Tips and Tricks.
Those are Facebook groups?
Yeah.
Are they on any other platforms?
Right now, just Facebook.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where we're at. That's where it's going to stay for now. And I'm also the registering agent of a nonprofit that I made in honor of my stepbrother, Ryan Estrada, that I gave to my parents for Christmas last year. And
That's
Okay.
yes. So we're currently running that. I'm waiting on that EIN number to start doing any fundraising, but people can find us at livelikeRyan99.org. And you can also look on Adjuster Pro for our courses as well. But Exactament Mobile is my thing. So
awesome.
Shoot
That's
ya.
great. Also,
Well,
our new Facebook group too, New Adjuster
right.
Podcast.
That's right.
Check us
Ooh,
out.
okay.
We
That's
just got it. Just starting
awesome.
out.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely have
We'd
to
love
join.
to have you over there.
Absolutely. And then if I can give you guys some tips on Exactement Mobile after this, I'd love to. So
Oh, yes. I would love to see it.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Well, Julian, we greatly appreciate you being here. I know you did some traveling to get here. This is not just around the corner for you, which that means a lot to us.
Yes.
Can't tell you
Jonesboro.
how much we appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. If y'all need to find me, I'm in Jonesboro, Arkansas. So
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You didn't just walk around the corner
That's
here to
right.
see us.
shout out to my barber who gave me this clean fade, and shout out to my girlfriend,
Oh.
Jenny. She's the love of my life. So
Oh, I love
There you
it.
go.
Thank
There
you
you
so
go.
much for being with us today. We've enjoyed it.
Thanks,
appreciate
Julian.
y'all. Thank you.
All right, everyone, we just wrapped up a great episode with our friend Julian from Adjuster Pro. Again, if you've missed any of our previous content, go back, give it a watch or a listen wherever you get your podcasts, dating back to season 1, season 2, and even the last episode of this current season. Again, thank you for being here with us. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you get notified of any future content that we put out for this or any other podcast. Leave a comment below if you're a new adjuster and need a question answered from us, but we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, y'all.